Tadao, do you have any questions to start us off with?
I have a question about vidya, and it has been discussed many, many times, but I still do not understand what vidya is. I'm wondering whether there are many different types of vidya, or vidya is just vidya, just one cetasika or not. And also, I would never be able to understand why vidya and kanti are the same cetasika, because in Abhidhamma, Sabhava Dhamma, reality, has only one function and one characteristic. But in the case of vidya, it is shared with kanti. And that point is something I would never understand. But anyway, I'd like to know, how can we develop, it's sort of full of self, but how can we develop vidya? That's what I would like to know.
Is the I who can do anything?
There shouldn't be. There is no I who can sort of perform vidya. Everything is
And in order to understand that actually there's no I at all, there must be the understanding of what is there that can be known. All right, open a bottle, please.
Yeah.
See, does it need something to open it? But when it's so tight, you have more virya to open it. Can that be the same thing, but with different aspect? When it's so easy, there must be virya. But when it's harder, it needs more virya. And when it's so hard to get rid of the idea of self, it needs not just virya, but also kanti in all aspects, in all situations. So as much as we can understand, it's not just a word in the book, but at the moment when it's there, because there must be, it's not just like seeing, no need to have virya to see, it's conditioned already. But at the moment when you do something, even eating, stretching your hand out, there must be virya to move it, see, unknown. But when it's more difficult, it takes more virya. And can that we say that it's not just a simple or just an easy virya, but it is kanti. Not just only that. Even right now, there must be virya to hear, to listen, to think about that. But it's so very difficult to understand even that which now experiencing no one at all. And only some moments of virya, it's impossible to realize that. But when there's more and more understanding that it can be known, but even not now, but from moment to moment, it can begin to understand that which now experiences. When we say seeing, it's so very simple, but when we understand that characteristic, which is no one, but it's just the moment of arising and experience, that's all. And there's so many different details from moment to moment. That's why seeing doesn't have virya with it. But the other moment, there is virya. Even it's so very weak, it's unknown. But when it's more and more, there can be the understanding of how much it takes, not only virya, but it needs more time to develop like kanti, to understand this moment of seeing. That's why beginning to understand that no matter what in a day, there is no one at all. but no thinking, because the confidence of that which is not self is not strong enough. That's why it takes time, no one there at all. So not to try to do anything. It's more easy than just try to find out the way to develop it. Leave it to conditions. That is the beginning of becoming real understanding of the word no self, because actually it's not just the word, it's this moment. No one seeing sees, thinking thinks. See? Developed by themselves, not by anyone at all. If there's no hearing, no other cetasikas as sankhara, it's impossible to condition a little more understanding of that which can be known is now. Otherwise, we just turn away from this moment and try to find out by oneself to understand this or that.
Yeah, I can see that virya is easily accompanied by the notion of I. I'm going to do something, or I'm going to strive to achieve something. So you are saying that be careful. Please do not try to develop virya with the notion of self. It's the wrong practice. It's I assume that is what you are saying.
So, what for to try to have viriya?
Oh, to learn more, to understand more.
As I,
Yeah, exactly.
no self. See, this is against the current of desire. Point is no I, which is not anyone who can try to understand that. But from hearing little by little, it will wash away just very little misunderstanding of there is many things around here, including I am here. Actually, before there can be the understanding of what is as it is right now, but the truth is that it's conditioned. It rises and falls away. That's why the words of the truth should be studied carefully, but not with the desire to get rid of the I, but understanding the truth. And understanding itself performs the function of letting go, even from the very beginning. If in the beginning there's no letting go, what's the point of listening? It is conditioned for more and more attachment to the I, unknowingly. This is a trick of attachment, lopa, with ignorance all the time. It's here, this moment. That's why no I is listening now. But the moment when it's there, it hears and it understands the words, which will become to understand, to begin to understand the meaning of the word, that it's about just what is there now. So who knows Dhamma is the one who knows that any moment is Dhamma. Whatever is there is Dhamma. That is the understanding clear about no self, little by little, and no need to think about whether there is viriya or not at that moment, because no one can know. They arise together with other cetasika, they fall away together so rapidly. That's why just learn at that moment to understand better and better. Actually, what we are learning is about right now, that which appears, to understand the truth, to let go the idea of self. So it's not the self tries so hard to know it, but it's the moment of listening and seeing how deep it is, how subtle it is. That's why it will let go the idea of wanting or trying with the idea of I'll try. But from hearing, understanding is there, and then it's gone. All right? It's a proof of how much understanding of no one there. Otherwise, the one is there again and again, in all in one's life. That's why Panya develops of everything by conditions. Because if there is still no understanding of just that, it cannot get rid of the idea of self. The self is there. That's why no one just listening and understanding and dhammas perform the dhammas, different ones. Now, right now. And Panya begin to understand that which appear, not that which is not there to be known. For example, after seeing there is Viriya with what Jitasikas, what Chitta, see, no one knows. It is not to force to know it, but to know that it cannot be known from very beginning, because even that which is now appearing is not known yet. There is the self who tries so hard to understand this and that, but what about understanding that which is now appearing?
Yeah, conventionally saying, I think I'm very lazy. I'm very lazy person, and I do not have much energy to sort of do many things. So it's a conventional word. But here you are saying that there should be viriya at this moment if there are sati and panyas.
Tadao, what you're saying about, well, I'm lazy and I want to have more virya, this is all the idea of I having virya. It's not the understanding of virya as a dharma which arises with every chitta except for most of the ahetuka chittas, like seeing and hearing and other ahetuka chittas. It arises at every moment apart from those 16 ahetuka chittas. So it has to be from the beginning the understanding of virya or any other mental factor as dhamma that arises at each moment, not just when there is the thinking I am lazy, but or not, or at moments of understanding, but almost at every moment now there is virya, kusala chittas, akusala chittas, virya at each moment. And when you say that virya is easily accompanied by the idea of self, it's really the other way round. When there are moments of wrong view, virya is there. When there are moments of right view, virya is there.
Yeah.
When there are moments of lobha, virya is there. When there are moments of kindness, virya is there. And as Jan said at the beginning, it just depends at each moment whether it's strong or weak. Depending on the conditions, strong or weak, kusala virya, strong or weak, akusala virya. But the point is, it's just a dharma, nothing to do with me. I don't have virya, I don't have metta, I don't have sati. They're just different dharmas which are conditioned to arise with different chittas at different moments. Even when dreaming, virya is there, arising with all those akusala chittas with attachment. No one doing anything, no one can stop it, no one can make it stronger because it's just conditioned to be that way whilst dreaming. And it's the same now. Whilst daydreaming, no one can make the virya stronger or lessen it because that virya which arises at this moment is exactly just how it's conditioned to be. So when there's the idea, I am lazy, I want to have more virya, then virya is there already at that moment, at those moments of thinking with the wrong idea of self that can do something.
And I think the only virya to be developed is kusala virya. So kusala virya is developed whenever there is kusala citta arising. So if kusala is developed, then kusala virya is also developed.
But Jonathan, in daily life, if one lives by himself, it's not easy to develop kusala. There are no opportunities to perform dana and sila.
But we must remember, Tadal, that kusala is a mental state.
Yeah.
So we don't have to think about performing a deed. There can be kusala mental state without any deed being performed. Right? It's just the nature of the citta that arises at that moment. So we don't have to think in terms of doing this or that particular kind of kusala as a bodily act or verbal act.
And what is the greatest kusala to Tao?
Satipanya.
And does that depend on whether there are people around, or whether we're in the forest or in the city, or the circumstances? What about this moment? Any moment? It always comes back to this moment. If you're sitting on your own eating your lunch, it's still just citta, cetasika, and rupa. There can be understanding any moment, any time. Not trying to have virya, not trying to have sati. But it's the understanding that is the important factor, because when understanding develops, kusala virya develops naturally with it. No need to do anything or try anything. And whatever arises, no matter its attachment or understanding at this moment or that moment, it's conditioned. No one can change it. No one can make it otherwise. If we think it would be easier if I had people around, or it'd be easier if this or that, or easier if I wasn't in quarantine, that's just the fantasy thinking. It's not the understanding of seeing at this very moment, hearing at this very moment.
Okay, Sarah, do you not mind explaining me why virya and kanti are shared by the single cetasika?
It's, as Ajahn said, it's pointing to different degrees and different aspects, like courage is an aspect of virya, patience is an aspect of virya, effort is an aspect of virya. Just like if we talk about dosa, fear is a kind of dosa, worry is a kind of dosa, irritability is a kind of dosa. People will say it's not the same, but they're just different kinds and degrees of dosa. Anger is much stronger than being irritated, but it's still dosa. Great patience to listen or develop understanding is much more than just patience to wait for one's tea to cool down. So different degrees, different kinds, and the kanti can be kusala or akusala. But when we read in the text about the kanti that develops parami with understanding, this is strong virya, strong kusala virya that develops together with understanding.
And I think the example Ajahn gave at the beginning is easy to help us understand this, because she said if we're trying to do something that is hard to do, it requires more effort. And if we're trying to do something that is hard to do and is going to take a long time to achieve, then it requires that effort to be sustained over a long period of time. That is, if there's no patience, then one will lose the motivation or be distracted from the task. So the patience is an aspect of the same effort to be sustained over a long period of time.
For example, Anne asked at the beginning how we spend our time in quarantine. One thing we do every time is we work on the editing of recordings. It takes quite a lot of kanti, because one has to listen and check, and it's not an enjoyable job. It takes a lot of patience, and then get rid of all the noise effects. And so it's different from just the patience when one's eating, or the patience when just helping one's friend have a cup of tea, something like that. So one can see in daily life different degrees of kanti, different degrees of virya at those times, but no one can make it more or less or change it. It's not like we do the editing to think, oh, now we will have a lot of kanti, or this is the way to develop kanti parami. That's completely the wrong way. if we think like that, oh, I will come to the discussion to have lots of understanding, it's wrong. It's quite different from just living naturally, seeing what is useful, and the understanding and kanti just develops by conditions. And sometimes when one's doing that editing work, there is dosa, one loses the work one's done, or there's irritability, different moments, just like now during a discussion. So each moment, each reality depends on conditions, nothing to do with I trying to have kanti or I trying to have more effort because I'm lazy. That's all the story of self, which is the greatest hindrance to the development of sati and panya. No matter one's living on one's own or living with people, the clinging to the idea of self just brings more and more disturbance and hinders the development of right understanding.
Yeah.
I find it really helpful to understand when different factors like virya arise, because understanding how virya arises with every citta except most of the Hetuka cittas helps to really understand that it's just a Dhamma that arises by conditions, not self, not anyone's.
In ordinary world, yeah, virya or effort means some kind of mental factor or some kind of vigor which perform a lot of works. So it depends on the amount of work you've performed in a day. But in Buddhism, one of the virtue is appakiccho. That is work, very little work. Why in Theravada Buddhism, appakiccho, not working too much, is somehow praised?
I think that what is praised is the development of kusala, no matter whether conventionally speaking one is working hard on a building site or sitting in an armchair watching TV. It always comes back to the citta and the mental factor at this very moment. Who knows whether the one on the building site or the one in the armchair has any understanding of seeing as just Dhamma at this moment, virya as just Dhamma. So whatever one reads about, it's always about the understanding at this moment of Dhammas, not of the circumstance, situation. Like the Buddha said about developing understanding and clinging. Clinging can arise in the forest or clinging can arise in the marketplace, but the one who develops understanding learns to live alone, no matter in the marketplace, no matter where one is. So everyone has to learn to live alone at this very moment. From birth to death, actually, citta is alone, seeing is alone, hearing is alone.
Yeah.
It's a fantasy to think that one is surrounded by other people.
Yeah.
It's not the truth at this moment.
Okay, very good, very good. Thank you.
And Tadao, doesn't the idea that one must have more kusala sound similar to the idea that one must go and concentrate and do?
Maybe.
Can you say more about the appakiccho, please?
Appakiccho means not doing many things.
What is the context?
Appa means little, and kiccho means work. So don't do too many things.
Is it from the Vinaya or what?
No, it's from Sutta Nipata.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, I would like to comment something. Today, today I went on a picnic to a lake nearby in a park with some friends. And there was a moment when my friends went out on a walk and I just stayed sitting by myself. And I took out the telephone and I started reading some message from DSG in which Sarah was responding, I think to Lucas or something. And she mentioned about Kusala Samadhi, right? So in that moment, my mind immediately, automatically, I kind of wondered, oh, Kusala Samadhi, what is the characteristic of that? How does it feel, or something like that, right? So I tried to find out if I had ever experienced that kind of cetasika, or that kind of that characteristic, right? That mental characteristic of Kusala Samadhi. And so I kind of thought of the moments when I have felt that my mind is Kusala or something like that. And then, this is something that probably I wouldn't be talking about. It's just because it happened 2 hours ago, and I was almost getting ready to come back home for the Zoom discussion, right? So I kind of I was a little bit surprised to see my mind. I was not expecting anything. I was not expecting to find anything out. I just saw that my mind went on that direction, right? Trying to feel the characteristic of Kusala Samadhi. And well, that's all. That's just a comment about something that happened.
I think the first thing to understand, and I think this is what I was pointing out, because people often think of needing to have concentration or samadhi first and then panya or something like this. And I think the point to start with is that at every moment, with every chitta, there is concentration, there is ekagata, there is samadhi at each moment. So now there is concentration. In order to see, there has to be concentration. In order to think, there has to be concentration. So at each moment, there is concentration, focusing on the object that is experienced. And when the concentration is kusala, it's different from when the concentration is akusala. And when the concentration is strong, it can be kusala or akusala. Usually in daily life, the concentration that is known is akusala, like when focusing on the cooking or even focusing on trying to get the recording right in editing. More often there is akusala concentration. So samadhi can be kusala or akusala. Usually it's akusala when a burglar robs a house. Very strong concentration, but akusala. So at this moment, there is concentration at each moment, weak or strong, like virya, weak or strong. The same with concentration, weak or strong. But usually it's akusala. And at this moment, if there's trying to have more effort or trying to be more focused or trying to understand what is experienced, samadhi is there, but it's all akusala samadhi, different from kusala samadhi, which develops together with right understanding, not anyone doing anything, not anyone trying to have samadhi. But usually the characteristic doesn't appear until understanding has developed highly. So if the characteristic is evident, usually it's akusala samadhi. But I'm sure Ajahn will add more to your question too.
Can anyone understand this moment as whether it is kusala samadhi or akusala samadhi? Without understanding the nature of it as of self. That's why it is always forgotten all the time, the point of hearing the teaching about this moment, about its truth. That's why we talk about things that is there in just a very short time and then gone. But trying to know or understand the word, the difference, while they are not there at all. But the nature, whatever is there in one's life, is there all the time, no matter it is irritation or anger or whatever it is. And there is the idea about them as what is the difference about this and that? I'd like to understand this and that. That's not the understanding of Dhamma, because Dhamma means what is there is so real, but no understand of it as not self, but as something which appears to try to understand what is that in words, to know it, to understand it, but not understanding the truth that it's just there for a very short moment gone. And we try to think about it so many, long time, many hours or days or years. But the truth is that it's not I, no matter what is there. So the listening to the teachings, the point is to understand this moment. Don't mind to say whether it is khanti or whether it is viriya or whether it is this word irritation or anger or whatever is there. But the truth is that it's gone. Everything is gone. And there is a clinging to it so much in the past and also in this life. At moment of thinking about, just about, whether what it is. But what it is no one and no self. Is covered all day, all time. At moment of thinking, just thinking about the word, whether it's this or that. So how long will it be conditioned to understand this moment as no matter it's what, as long as no understanding of the difference between that which experiences is not that which cannot experience. See, no matter we're talking about viriya or khanti or samadhi or whatever, what is its nature, the true nature? No one there, but only different kinds of that which experiences, which appears, and the truth is covered up because not understanding the point of listening to this, just to understand the difference between that which experiences and that which cannot experience. Otherwise, the self is there all the time. My body, my mind, my anger, my knowledge, my understanding. So it is like this from life to life, years and years ago. No matter how many lives we have listened to the teachings of the Buddha, but it's still there, thinking just about the word. But the truth is that the point is to understand this moment as a self, and if there's no understanding of the nature of it as that which experiences. They cannot be the moment of just wearing away the idea of self at all. But no matter how much we learn about Viriya or Samadhi, no one knows that it's now, this moment of seeing. There must be that which is not I. It can experience, but its reality and its function is to just be pointed to one object so that citta cannot change to other object. It has to experience only that object. This is learn to understand the reality which is not self, to understand that so many things are known, but with the considering about what is heard, it can bring about a little more understanding of whatever is there when time comes. For example, concentration or ekaggata citasika is there, but it does not appear at all in any moment until some time when it's there and conditions is enough to understand that as, oh, that is only that. So fix mind on that object. But actually, each moment it performs its function, but not as that moment. It's so different from time to time, from one moment, from one object to another object all the time. Otherwise, this is like other life that listen and just think about the word. But what about the word? It is there because it's different in itself, different degree and level of just concentration. So when we talk about samadhi, what is that? Is it different from this moment? Or it's different because of its level? Because samadhi at moment of we concentrate on something, sometimes it's different from moment when it arises with the citta, which experience only one object, which samadhi is there, only one pointedness of that object only. See, that's why learning to understand the teachings is the learning of what we are talking about is now. But without the words that which explain about it, it cannot be known as a self. But at moment of learning about self, at learning about the truth, it will condition moment of less and less attachment to the self. Otherwise, no condition, no reality, which can vary away just very little from moment of taking it for self. For example, when we talk about mana or talk about khanti, see, at moment when it's not khanti, can you understand that as khanti? But when it's there, not as usual of that which arises with almost each citta, unknown. But when it's there, not known, because no thought about, it's only just a reality, different ones, that's all. That's why before there can be the direct understanding of that which appears, it takes time to begin from the very beginning, just to understand that which appears, but the idea keeps on away from that moment to other things around in the world all the time, until there are enough conditions to condition moment of begin to understand that which is there. For example, hardness is there. Who knows? It's that which can be known, and it has to be known. Its characteristic before there can be the elimination of taking it for something as before. That's why no matter we are talking about what is there, it's not known. It's not I. It's thinking about that. But when we know that it's about now and that which now can be known. We talk about that more in order to understand it as it is. For example, Viriya does not appear and Samadhi does not appear at moment of anything in life. For example, seeing is not thinking. Even that is not known. But different cetasikas are there. Viriya can arise with other citta, but not the moment of seeing. Just one moment of seeing. See, learning the truth of this moment from the word Buddha taught. And that can be the understanding of that which appears as Buddha taught, as no self, no thing. Otherwise, we try to know more about words, but not understanding the difference in a moment from moment to moment, which is taught by the Buddha's word about different degrees of viriya, or different degrees of mana, or different degrees of attachment to the idea of self. At moment of what is that? Where is the self? The five khandhas is there. And if there is still the misunderstanding of that as still I, unknown, thinking about that, where is the one of the five khandhas there? Not known. As it is, as not self. So the point should be, no matter what we're talking about, it appears there to be understood as we heard before. Otherwise, hardness now is appearing. It's something there. It's so natural, it's so simple, it's so common that no one thinks that it's the moment of not understanding it and take it for something. Even it seems like just hardness, how important it is, but it's there as something. So it's still the idea of self. That's why just learn to understand that which is now from hearing again and again about the difference of viriya or khanti or samadhi. For example, now, no samadhi cetasika, but there is ekakhata cetasika. But it appears in different aspects. That's why we have to use different words for different aspects when it appears. When citta is akusala, can the samadhi there be kusala? But at that moment, it's not known whether citta is kusala or akusala. That's why we talk about kusala samadhi, akusala samadhi, to know the difference that only when it arises with citta, which is kusala, it is kusala samadhi. And when it arises with akusala citta, it is akusala samadhi. But the characteristic of samadhi is not known yet as not self. Only the word is there. And can it be helpful or useful when it's there, something there, without the conditions from intellectual understanding? Impossible. That's why at moment of understanding conventionally about that which appears now as it is not self, can be conditioned one day, we don't know what, but by anatthaness, by conditions only. It's time to understand better and better about no one, no self, and anatta. Otherwise, even what is now appearing now cannot be understood as anatta at all. And when will it be that moment? There must be the understanding of what we are talking about is the study of what is there now to understand. So when there's no understanding of kusala citta or akusala citta, how can there be the understanding of the kusala samadhi or akusala samadhi? And when the ekakhata cetasika does not appear, who knows? But it's there can be known little by little. When there is concentration on something, not as usual as just looking and thinking, but it takes some attention and concentrating on that object. It shows that it's there different. But instead of thinking about what is the difference between different level of samadhi, but when it's there, what is heard, it can be a little more understanding of the difference between that which pay attention or concentration on just an object right then, see, from moment to moment. And this is a point of studying the details of all dhammas just to understand at any moment when there are conditions to know that it's not I. No matter it's thinking, liking, disliking, or what is there now. So I think that when we begin to know the point of listening to the teachings is to understand that which is now appearing and to know a little more about what is there. Not just only citta, but there are citasikas as well. To have less and less clinging, even from listening to the words as that cannot be taken for self, little by little. And it does not trouble anyone because one realizes that the self is so much more accumulated, cannot be eliminated just in some moments in life, but it takes quite a long years and years to understand it. But to understand the truth of this moment is the point. So what shall we talk about now? We can talk about anything. It's there unknown, and then it can be known little at a time, very little at a time, from considering, reflecting on that which is heard, that is here, but it's not open up to be known yet, because that which can know it is only right understanding, which develops little by little.
John, I have a question which may seem like an odd question, but well, I've been thinking about Jetasikas that arise with each citta, and I'm thinking particularly about feeling, because feeling is something we all we do. We feel, positive, negative, happy, sad, etc. What experiences feeling? Feeling arises, it's a Jetasika that can be known by Panya. So
the first thing is that is it there now? From learning.
From learning, yeah.
Or not?
Well, I know intellectually, yes.
But it's not known yet because it does not appear. So no matter how much we think about it, what about moment of understanding that which is experience, not just thinking about the other thing? Otherwise, when will it appear to Panya? Because even it's there, no attention to it at all, just think about other things. So what is there is there, and from hearing again and again and again, there can be conditions to direct, aware, and understand the truth, little by little, of that which appears, as one has heard before. Otherwise, even it's there, it's not known. Even it's there, appear is not known as not self, like anger. For example, anytime it is there, no understanding it as not me at all. It's only a reality. If we think about the other things, But when time comes, when it's the condition for the arising of direct awareness is there by anatterness. That's why the understanding of no self, getting little by little to understand the moment of it's just a reality. Even right now, it depends on conditions. When there's more understanding, it let go the idea of self, not just wanting to understand more, but to know that even that is covered up, the truth that actually is gone, each word, each moment. So all depends on conditions. That's why there is less the self will try so hard to understand directly about this or that, but to understand it is not self. It's different by conditions.
So thinking about it and trying to work it out, which I guess is what I'm thinking about now, doesn't really get you anywhere.
Thinking about it and understanding it as not me, not self, no one there. This is a point of understanding anatta, Dhamma, or Dhammas are anatta. Only that includes everything in every moment.
Thank you.
But we can talk more about Dhamma to understand that they are not self. They cannot be taken for anything because each one is God already. No condition to directly understanding with right awareness directly of just one at a time as nimitta. See, learn to understand the word of nimitta little by little. We live in the nimitta world. Otherwise, everything is so seems real to be I and things, but actually nimitta.
That certainly seems to be the point, the most essential, to understand Dhammas as Dhammas, no I, no thing. And yet it's so deeply ingrained that we think of I. Even when understanding, or if there is a moment of weak understanding, it's very, very quickly after that, it's I, my understanding, I have understood.
Otherwise, there cannot be the understanding of the what Buddha said about Dhamma is so very deeply to get to it, the truth of it, as no more, each moment gone.
John, when you say think about feeling as no I, not I, not self, nothing there, if the feeling is not actually appearing at that moment, then it's just our concept of feeling that we are saying is no I, not self, nothing there, isn't it?
But are we now talking about feeling? It means that feeling is a reality.
Yes.
But not known as not me.
Right.
That's why we learn more that it is conditioned. No one can stop different kinds of feeling, and it's there by condition. At that moment, the self is there, my feeling. So when there's the understanding that seeing is just a moment and it's conditioned, no one likes to have the unpleasant feeling, but it's there. So what should be? Usually, no idea of understanding it as not self from life to life, but from hearing again and again, it begins to have less importance in life because it's just a moment. Even it's a great, pleasant feeling. No more, never again. Different one, and no more. That's why no one, no thing is the best thing, because it's the truth to be understood of that which is there now. What kind of feeling is not known. All right, it's gone. But what is there can be the object of developing understanding, because feeling must be there too, but it's not the object of direct awareness yet. But from learning about that, when it's there, panya is there, be able to learn to understand it little by little. That is not just the intellectual understanding about feeling, but when it's there, there can be a little, just a moment of directly on it. But the understanding that it's not self is not clear yet. That's why it develops from that moment. That what we learn lead to the direct awareness of that which is now appearing by conditions. By condition is very important because it's the core of the understanding of no self.
When we talk about something appearing, well, let me start with arising. Jita's and Jaitasika's many arise without our knowing, and we will never know because they don't appear. I'm thinking of Sampatichana and Santirana and the Kirya Jita. Are they Kirya? Anyway, I'm thinking about the ones that we can't know because they don't appear and they won't appear. What about something like a feeling feeling? We seem to know when we the I that we think about feels something. So it's not appearing directly at that point, at that time. So we can't know its characteristics as a Dhamma, but there is some awareness, and I mean conventional awareness, that there is feeling. Can we call that appearing, or is it just appearing when it appears to sati and panya?
It's there, nobody can change it,
No,
right?
Correct.
Already, yeah. No matter you call it what.
No matter what we call it, doesn't matter.
But from just one word, from one word to another word, Dhamma, what is that? Whatever appears is so real, but no one condition it to arise. No one can make it to arise at all. And it's there only when it appears. Begin to understand the depth, the subtlety of what is meant by no more. When it does not appear, can that be on, still on? It's gone unknowingly. So that which appears is for a moment, just very short, and then the other reality appears after. But the arising and falling away is not directly known yet. So the world of nimitta is there all the time, taking that which is no more as something always there, still from that moment to another moment. So learn to understand the truth deeper and deeper, that what is meant by Dhamma, it means just that which is real. And it's there only when it appears. Just think about that to understand that it has to be like this, no matter who knows or not. But from what happens in life, it begins to be known as this is different from the previous one, the previous moment, not the same moment. Like hearing is not seeing different ones. This is the beginning to understand what is meant by Dhamma. What is there is real. No one can make it arise, and it cannot stay long at all, because there are conditions for that particular one to just arise, and then the end of the function of condition for the arising so it falls away. No one can help it, can make it stay at all. It's gone already. When there's more understanding of just one word, Dhamma, it begins to understand what is there, what is there. Just it's there when it's appearing. For example, we think that we have the body, the whole body, but what is there? Only the idea, the sanya, marking and remembering that it's there because whenever there is touching, it's there. But actually, what about when it's not touched? Where is it? Is there still the idea that it's there when it does not appear? So what is right? That which is now appearing is there. But when it does not appear, it's gone. It doesn't mean that it's still there. But when there is another moment of touching again, it's just like that. So it's the idea of it's there all the time. But actually, each word should be studied carefully until the understanding gets firmer and firmer about Dhamma, that which is real just when it's there by conditions. And this will lead to understanding what we are talking about. No matter it is hearing, it's there at moment of hearing, right? No more. Everything is just like that, but no thought, no thinking about it. But when there's more and more hearing, considering, it begins to be firmer and firmer, more confidence of the truth that how much ignorance is there. And only Panya can understand this, that what is the benefit or the precious moment is to begin to understand the truth firmer, firmer, a little more, until it can understand that which is appears. But not in words only, but the truth is that. What is that? Not just the word feeling. It feels at that moment. It's not thinking. Thinking is not feeling. See, it's so very, very deep to understand the truth without the enlightenment of the Buddha, who had developed so great parami to experience everything. So he taught what he had experienced directly enlightened, so that people can begin to understand the truth from hearing, considering. And that is the seed to grow, the panya. Whenever there is a hearing again, the truth is to understand Dhamma, that which appears, not just the words, but without the word, no one can know what it's talking about, what it's talking about then. But from each word represents each reality that can be known at that moment without word, like seeing now. We don't have to think that seeing sees, but seeing sees, not I see. Little by little, each word should be studied with the understanding of no self and no thing, not just the story of it, but no matter we are talking about feeling, is there feeling now? What kind? When it's indifferent feeling, no one knows. Only when there are conditions for right understanding with direct awareness is there at that object only. So it becomes a little clearer and clearer, but not as that with direct awareness yet, and not as that Veda yet. That's why Panya develops from understanding Dhamma as not self. Otherwise, we talk about Dhamma in English, in Thai, or any language, but what about next life? Who knows that in one's life, no matter what life, one can speak Pali or Makati with understanding? No, nothing to do, not just to go to school and study about it, but what about now? The word is not what we use in this life. So no understanding of even that which we can speak as one's own language before. See, that's why the understanding is the most important. It doesn't mean just from this language or that language, but any word which can bring about the understanding of the truth better and better from hearing, considering what is the point of listening to understand Dhamma, the truth of that which is there, which no one can make it arise, and it's gone. See, until nothing, when nothing arises, it cannot be object of ignorance and attachment anymore. But when whatever is there, no matter what, with ignorance, no understanding, is something and is object of clinging instantly because of ignorance. So now, see, the truth is that no understanding of that which is not appearing yet. But from hearing, it begins to know that actually, how can be the permanent, the idea of self, when it's no more at all? But when whatever arises after is there, ignorance is there, clinging is there, all day long, in life, each moment, each life. And one can begin to see that the intellectual understanding about this will bring about the direct understanding with direct awareness by conditions. Because of there is enough understanding of that to condition the moment of understanding when it's there by anattanness. So no self, no one getting more and more confidence as not me, no me.
And I think, Anne, it's like seeing. Everyone knows that there is seeing. They think that I am seeing. So everyone knows there is seeing, but it's not the Dhamma, the reality of seeing, which appears. Just like everyone knows they're concentrating when they're cooking, but it's not the reality of concentration that appears. And it's just the same with feeling. Everyone knows that sometimes they have pleasant feelings and sometimes unpleasant feelings, and everyone would like more of the pleasant feelings, but it's not the reality of feeling which appears. So it's only when panya arises that the Dhamma of seeing or feeling or concentration actually can appear at those moments by conditions. And of course, like we were stressing earlier, if there's any trying to experience pleasant feeling or unpleasant feeling as Dhamma, then it's the wrong way again. But it's just the same as with any other Dhamma. We know conventionally that there is sometimes kindness and sometimes attachment, but it's the story of kindness, the story of attachment, the idea of kindness or attachment, which is not the understanding of Dhamma that appearing.
Right. So that's what I was wanting to be clear of in my mind when we're talking about it, that when we're talking about something appearing, we're talking about feeling or whatever, we appearing directly to panya.
Being the Dhamma itself, the reality itself, being experienced, yes. Because usually it's just the concept of feeling, the concept, the idea of concentration that appears.
Well, I think where I got a bit confused on that is sometimes we'll ask what is appearing now, and somebody will, the answer will be seeing. Well, seeing must be appearing because I think I'm seeing someone, but in fact, in the sense we're talking about it, it is definitely not at that point appearing as a Dhamma.
Right. It's actually the idea of seeing. But
so I think there are different levels and kinds of appearing in our discussion. So we talk about what is appearing now to mean, as you say, seeing is obviously arising at the present moment because there is the idea of people and things being seen. Whereas something like, for example, contact, the mental factor, is not appearing and not ever going to appear. So we talk about understanding what is appearing rather than looking for realities that are not appearing.
Yes, yes, I think that's the distinction. That's the big distinction. Yeah.
And the other distinction is that now we're talking about the beginning of development of pariyati understanding, because without the intellectual understanding, the direct understanding cannot arise. So when we say what is seen now, visible object, this is the concept of visible object that appears at this very moment. But it there has to be the beginning to understand that it is visible object and not a person and a thing that is seen.
Right.
So it has to begin like that, with the understanding of the concept of the reality.
Otherwise, there will never be direct understanding what appears and what appears as a Dhamma.
Yes.
Yes. Well, thank you, Ajahn and Sarah and Jonathan.
I just briefly want to go back to Dow's word of teacher, and he was talking about small teacher. So teacher has different meanings. So the conventional meaning of teacher is task or job, like in one's daily life. And I thought about one story in the Sutta Nipata, because you referred to it, to Tao, about where a monk who had been a monk for a lot of years was walking up and down, and the people who were in the fields ploughing and doing other tasks, other teacher, wondered whether he was lost and didn't know where he was going. But in fact, that monk became an arahat on that day. So their idea of task is like doing the work in the field. This is one meaning of teacher. And another meaning of teacher is function, like the function of Vedana is to feel, the function of Phassa is to touch the object, the function of Vitakka is to lead the citta to the object. And then the other meaning of teacher refers to the task to be done. So when we talk about Satchanyana, Kichanyana, Katanyana, this refers to the understanding of Four Noble Truths at the firm intellectual level. And then Kichanyana is the direct understanding of the realities, like the ones Anne was talking about. So it's Kachanyana, the knowledge of the task. The task is the understanding, direct understanding of realities. And that leads to Katanyana, the knowledge of what has been done or completed, the realization of the Four Noble Truths at the level of Vipassana Jnana and enlightenment. So teacher, it can have a conventional meaning, but in the Buddha's teachings, it refers to the task of the development of understanding of the truths. So deeper and deeper meanings. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And I think the word or phrase is from Mangala Sutta in Sutta Nipata. And there, monk is encouraged not to do too many worldly things. It's the meaning there. But as you've said, there are many levels of kicca. And I totally agree with you.
And what is the task for the monk? The task of the monk is not for doing worldly tasks, but for developing the understanding of the teachings and sharing that understanding.
Yeah, this phrase is very important to me. This is one of the phrases which has guided me in this life. So, conventionally speaking, I do not engage many sort of unnecessary things.
But even so, each moment is conditioned. So whether one's engaged in unnecessary things or necessary things, at each moment, each citta, each cetasika is conditioned and anatta.
Yeah.
Maybe Ajahn would like to add more about Kicca and the Mangala Sutta.
If there's nothing arise at all, can there be any task or teacher?
No.
So what are there? No one, but each different reality performing its function. Without seeing, hearing, smelling, can there be any task? The truth is the truth. We just talk about feeling or other cetasikas. What about sanya? See, no thought about it. Just thought about feeling. But what about sanya now? Is there any task when there is no sanya? No, nothing arises at all. So it's just the way Dhamma is. In Thai, we use the word Thamada, which comes from Pali term ta. We don't use the tau. In Pali, we use the da instead of ta in Pali. So Thamada is the way Dhamma is. Who can change its way? Because Dhamma is not self, no one at all. So each moment represents the moment of the arising of realities performing the function.
So Ajahn, when we refer to Kiccayana, what is the Dhamma performing what task?
Okay. What is intellectual understanding? Pariyatti.
It is Panya performing its task.
And when it is Patipatti, what performing?
Also Panya performing its task.
Panya all the way. Otherwise, there cannot be any understanding of whatever appears from life to life. So there is a reality which understands, but it cannot arise without conditions. That's why you have to understand conditions for each reality which arises. To understanding the truth little by little, but actually we live in the world of ignorance, of taking things for things and self. Well, it's nothing. Sunyata, anatta. This is the truth of reality.
So so when we make this distinction between Satyayana, Kiccayana, and Katayana, the Kiccayana is not just the task of Panya, but something else, referring to something else also.
different level of panya. See, the task of Satyayana is to understand what is the truth, the noble truth. If it's not known, that cannot be Satyayana, the yana of the truth of reality. But it's not the direct experience, the characteristic which we learned about it, like seeing sees. See, the seeing is now sees, but no one knows its characteristic of that which arises to experience. But when it's seeing, it experience only that which impinges on the eye sense or the eye base. In a very, very short moment, cannot imagine how short it is. Because even right now, how many thousand of the arising and falling away of different realities all the time. So each one has to be known as not self, not the other one. Like feeling cannot be sanya, remembering. See, each one has its characteristic, which arises and falls away unknown as not self, but can be known as it's that feeling. It's not anger. Everyone knows that, but not understanding the truth that actually each is conditioned to be just then, just that, not the other thing at all, and then gone completely, never to return to arise again at all. So what about the use of clinging to that which is not there anymore? And only Panya can understand that from the very beginning to letting go the no self to the self, clinging to that which is not self, which is not anything at all. Only the combination, composition of many, many things together and appear as nimitta, as something which no one knows, that each is different, even in that which one takes for one thing. There cannot be just one primary rupa, but has to be four together by conditions, or by conditions. Ignorance is conditions. Right understanding is conditioned too. Everything. Without condition, that cannot arise at all. So Satyayana is the intellectual understanding of the truth with confidence, strong confidence, not to change, not to do anything different from trying to do as I, adding more idea of self all the time instead of have less clinging to it. Because it's so very, very deep, very, very subtle to know that the point is the moment of understanding only. From the very beginning, it develops more when there's more and hearing, considering, until it can condition another level of panya, the Kitchayana.
So can we say it this way, that Satyayana understands that each reality needs to be understood for what it is, and when it's Kichayana, it is actually performing the task of understanding each reality as it is.
Because understanding is understanding, depending on the levels. Only intellectual, knowing that that is seeing now, and learning from hearing that no one can make it arise, but that is not enough. As long as its own nature, the characteristic, does not appear as no one there. For example, when sometimes when you wake up, not experience anything in your idea, not seeing, not hearing, no sound, but I or there, it is that which experiences, no shape, no form at all. But that is that already arising and experiencing. Even the object is not that which is seen or heard, but the characteristic which experiences is there to be known when there's more understanding. But when there's no understanding, oh, I wake up, see, happily, pleasantly, and so on, depending on how quickly, how rapidly it arises and falls away, unknown. What are they from moment to moment? So the intellect understanding is the first level to understand the truth of that which does not appear as it is as not self, but to learn that it cannot be taken for self, because no one can make it arise, no one can change it, not to experience. And when it's there, no form, no shape, nothing there, only a reality, only one, which is there, the chief of experiencing, no idea about what are there at that moment too, like the mental reality, Cetasikas. Feeling is there, sanya is there, sankhara is there, see? Or unknown from eons and eons ago. That's why the precious moment is the moment of understanding, even begin to understanding, from considering, reflecting again and again, over and over again. Actually, it's not there anymore, just the previous moment. And no one knows. But Panya can develop from letting go just to for understanding, listening to the truth for the sake of understanding the truth, to understand that actually no I who is listening, who is studying, and who is doing anything, seeing or hearing at all. Otherwise, there cannot be conditions for direct awareness. Even is there no direct awareness with understanding. So it's something all the time, even it's not there. I still have hands and legs, eyes and ears, but it's there at that moment. When there is seeing, there's no hearing. The truth has to be the truth that can be known with parami, patience, viriya, satya, adidana, nekama, see, letting go, to let go the idea of self, which is the cause of all kinds of unwholesomeness. Just to understand, that's all. After this moment, after this hour that we're talking about the Dhamma, the truth, there can be anything happen. What about the understanding from hearing now to know that it's not I at all? But when it's time, no one can stop. For when it arises by conditions, even just to think about that, or not just only thinking, but directly aware of that which appears. All the way must be anatta, from life to life, nothing more than different realities conditioned. So it arises and appears not as it is, but as something all the time, the world of nimitta, no matter when, even right now.
But actually, Ajahn, it's not just the matter of if there's after listening, there's any understanding after we stop discussion. But even while listening, there's hardly any moment of understanding. It's mostly no understanding.
That's the way Dhamma is.
And the point, Sukin, is just like we were talking about virya or samadhi, that there are different degrees and it can be stronger or weaker. So in the beginning, panya is weaker, but it develops and then it is stronger. So when talking about Satchanyana, Kichanyana, Katanyana, it's just different degrees of panya, like we were talking about different degrees of samadhi or different degrees of virya. But yes, it is as it is at this moment. and no point in wishing or thinking it should be different, because that's just accumulating more lobha and more of the wrong path, and leads to the trying to make it happen, which hinders the development.
No, I understand that it's different levels of understanding, but I just wanted to, since you prompted and started talking about different meanings of kitcha, I wanted to get a better understanding what the word kitcha meant in this context.
So it's still related, it's still the function of panya, but the different degree from pariyati understanding. The reference that Tadao was referring to in Sutta Nipata, I couldn't find it in the Mangala Sutta, so maybe sometime you can give it to me, Tadao.
Yeah, okay. I'll send it to English website. Ajahn, I think it's very important to know the difference between ksala and aksala. But is it easy to see the difference, or it's not so easy to see the difference?
If there's no understanding of the characteristic which is a self, which experiences, and the experiencing so many different kinds, that which is achieved is citta. It cannot be kindness, it cannot be anything. It's just that which arises as a chief of experiencing the object as it is.
Yes.
So the other mental factor must be different from citta, and they are different from each other too. For example, kindness and cruelty, different one. Dosa and lopa, see. So no matter what degree it is, it cannot change from its nature as to be just like as it is. Dislike is dislike. It cannot be like. And at moment of like, it cannot be changed to be dislike, different realities. So the point is that no matter what is there, hidden, unknown, or when it appears to panya unexpectedly, because the understanding has to understand the anatterness. So no matter what we are talking about are there, but as long as it does not appear as the object, it cannot be directly known as it is. That's why even the seeing can be the object of right understanding only when it's there. Even it's not the same one, but it's the same kind. By Vichicitta, one knows it. It's impossible for Panya to just arise and experience that which is there because it's gone. But it arises again and again and again, and no other reality appear. That's why that can be the object of direct awareness, to understand the difference between just thinking about it, hearing about it, but beginning to understand that moment of experiencing. But the characteristic which is not self is not clear yet until again and again and again, unexpectedly, without wishing, trying any more, because the understanding of its condition is kind of relief, because all depends on conditions, and condition is listening again, reading again, hearing again, considering again about that, until it cannot bring about the other thought for other thing, but it becomes more and more to be object of thinking, and then considering, and then appearing by conditions.
Ajahn, what is the understanding of kusala and understanding of akusala that is not associated with understanding of not self, means as in the development of samatha. What is that kind of understanding?
Okay, only the word or the reality. For example, now we talk about ignorance. Even it's there, it does not appear as it is as no one. So the point is that when whatever appears to right understanding, it has to appear as no thing and no one in it. So no matter we are talking about, does it appear or is there? Like sanya and vitaka and other cetasikas are there now, not known. They do not appear. So only what appears, and with the accumulation of right understanding from intellectual understanding, it can condition the moment of understanding that without thinking in the word, because that characteristic appears as its nature, as that which experiences. So even we talk about whether this is nama and that is rupa, as long as it does appear, how can it be known? And what is the nature which experiences? And at that moment, even dosa or lopa or kindness appears as it is, but no idea about the word. But it's just that which experiences, not me, otherwise it still be the idea I experienced that. But when it's just there and right understanding develops enough to understand it as it's no thing, and that is the beginning of Kittayana. So no matter when we doubt about it, doubt is there, not known as no one, no me who doubts. So it's always I still doubt about this, I still doubt about that. But actually doubt is there by conditions. And there cannot be the eradication of doubt as not self until it's there and appear the truth, the noble truth. Again and again by different level of vipassana jhana, so that can lead to the moment of the end of that. It means that no arising anymore. So that is the kilesa nibbana of such kilesa stage by stage. But as long as it's there and we talk about it, it does not appear yet. And when it appears, no expectation what will appear to panya of that degree. It's conditioned like now. Seeing is conditioned. It's there. So when it's there, it's conditioned. No one can condition it arising at all. To understand more and more, it's letting go the idea of self unknowingly. That's why life is changed little by little when there is more and more understanding and more kusala. Because when we talk about akusala is ignorance, but now there is ignorance, no understanding of that. And we just say that it's akusala. But the truth is that is it good? Is it wholesome? Not to understand the truth. And that's the meaning of kusala, which knows what is benefit or what is very useful, is that we use the word kusala. But that which is useful and it doesn't bring the right result, that is akusala by word. But the truth is that to understand that even not understanding now is akusala. We use the word kusala, but it means it's useless. See, unwholesome. Just to explain that which does not understand the truth And when anger is there, before anger, no matter citta is kusala or akusala, it's not like the moment of anger. At moment of anger, is it good to have such feeling? So we call it akusala. That's right, not just know this is kusala or that is akusala, but its nature is there to be studied. No matter we use the word kusala or akusala, it doesn't matter. But the truth is that when it's just like that, we use the word to see that it's not beneficial at all to have that arising, useless, trouble. So it's not just to know the word, whether this is kusala or that is akusa, but the nature of it can be known, even if you don't use any word. Lopa, see, no matter you think that it's good, because you can have many, many things. But clinging is different from no clinging. What is more pleasant or better? Not to cling or cling more and more. If they're so clingy at all, how pleasant it is. But when it's just clinging, it's trouble, just wanting, trying to get it, to have it, to be your own, see? So if people would say that Lopa is good because it can condition many, many pleasant things in the world, on and on and on. But what about without attachment, no matter it's there or not, it does not disturb? What is better?
But there are people who say that Lopa is not good, but without understanding that Lopa is just another reality.
That's why without thinking, considering, right understanding cannot be there at all. Just hit the wrong as the right. Some would say a little Lopa is good. Not understanding it. What about not at all? Is it better or not better? Nothing to cling to at all. Whatever happened to that, it doesn't matter because of no clinging. Safe from trouble.
A person who's developing Panya at the level of samatha actually does not recognize the Lopa that arises with with self-view. So he doesn't really understand Lopa.
Cannot get out of the circle of birth and death at all. Endless. On and on. Is that good? Clinging to that which is not there, but cling so much to nothing. It wasting time to try to get it because it cannot belong to anyone at all. It's gone forever. Never to return, never to rise again. So it's safe not to cling. No trouble.
And I think, Sukian, isn't the question similar to Anne's, but of course in this case it's much more refined understanding than is not the ordinary conventional understanding. So there's knowing what is kusala and what is akusala, but it's a concept of metta or a concept of nova, that it's not the understanding of the Dhamma, the reality as anatta. So it's not the reality itself which is appearing at that moment as it is. It's the concept, even though it's with understanding and very refined. Just like at this moment, we talk about seeing which sees. It's the concept of seeing. And for those who develop samatha, it is the concept of metta, which is clearly understood as it is, but not as a Dhamma, which is anatta.
Thing is that even when we talk about the different dhammas involved in different stages of jhana development, it's all just concept.
That's why in the development of samatha, the object is a concept, like even metta, when it's the object of jhana citas, it's still the concept of metta at that moment. It's not the reality, which is a dhamma that is directly understood. Or like now reflecting on the Buddha's virtues, but it's the concept of those virtues and the development of samatha when reflecting on the Buddha's virtues. It's the same, but just more and more understanding and more calm, but it's still the concept of those virtues.
But there's a difference, the concept of the virtues of the Buddha and knowing the difference of the difference between kusala and akusala, calm and not calm, as it's appearing now.
Right, so understanding what is kusala and what is akusala, but it's still not the direct understanding of that reality as anicca, dukkha, anatta, and that's why it can never lead out of the cycle. However refined, however great the understanding it is at the level of samatha, like dhammanusati, it's still the pariyatti understanding, it's still the understanding of different dhammas, kusala, akusala, vipaka, kiriya. It's still the understanding of them as concepts, not as the realities, not the direct understanding of realities. And that's why the conceptual understanding, like now the pariyatti, can't lead out, but it can lead to the direct understanding, the patipatti understanding, if it's correct. Don't have very long, so I don't know if anyone else who hasn't brought up any topics has anything they would like to bring up today.
Yes, I have something. Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
But I think it's going to take a while. Actually, this has been a very good discussion, so it's helped a little bit. But it's one of my family members who is not well and is denying anything is wrong. Now, and she's denied this for quite a while. And normally I would probably just leave it, but it's affecting other family members, and it's affecting me. It's like I'm frustrated and I don't know how to deal with it. And listening to today's discussion is wonderful, but it's like, how do I use what I've learnt today in a situation like this? And that I know is a lot of me and I. Yeah. I guess I'm just wanting some help here.
So the problem, as you see it, is that this family member doesn't admit that she is unwell.
Exactly. Yes. Yes, and so I would like to help, but it's difficult to help someone who denies that they need help.
There are different ways of helping, of course.
Yes, what's the suggestion? I actually, Jonathan, before you go on, I do think I probably have to go and see some sort of professional to get advice. I mean, yes, I understand what we've been talking about today, and as I said, it's been really good. But when I get there to their house, all of this has gone out of my head, and it's just frustration, and I just want to leave again. But because there's other family members involved, it's a little difficult. However, I don't expect anyone to fix that problem, and I will just venting it has allowed me to see maybe it's me that has to go and see some professional to get help for me to deal with it.
Doesn't it help to understand that whatever arises, no matter for her or for you, is by conditions, and moments of metta are so different from moments of clinging and frustration, and one does one's best at any time, but the outcome all depends on conditions. One cannot make someone else think another way or take a particular action, and she is she and you are you, so you have different ways, but everyone responds to kindness and help, so one just does one's best at the time.
Yes, I think that's probably the best advice in this situation. But as I said, it's sometimes difficult because it's a close family member and there are other people involved. And
what makes it difficult is actually not the other person, but one's own clinging and one's own wishing to change the situation, and which brings about all the disturbance and the difficulties. So one thinks that it's the patient that is the problem, but actually it's one's own kilesa at this very moment. That's the real problem.
That's what
akusala is always a problem. Akusala is always a problem.
Yes, as we've just said, and as Ajahn has just said, akusala, useless, trouble, clinging trouble. That's great. So I'll try and keep that in mind when I next go visit them. But I might get it all back to front and just say, you're trouble. Oh. Anyway, it's been a very, very good discussion. Thank you. I think it's time, is it?
5 minutes.
Almost. It reminds me of the fact that, from our understanding of Dhamma, we think everyone is in need of help. They could benefit from understanding the Dhamma, but what can one do? Our family members, we would like to help them with the Dhamma, but they're not interested, for example, and so there's nothing to be done, except if one was very skillful, one would know ways of helping. If one has kusala citta, then whatever one does will be helpful. But apart from that, helping in the conventional way is not always possible.
I think we often, like mostly everybody, thinks that whatever one does will be helpful for others, like in other religions or somebody who does a certain sport, things that, or psychology, people who have done psychology, some kind of psychology practice, things that other people would benefit from that, not to say especially from religions, right? So probably it's not a particular thing for us Buddhists, right?
I think the underlying issue is attachment. If it was someone I was not attached to, I probably wouldn't even be so involved. But because it's family and there is strong attachment, I can see where the issues are arising, for me anyway. For me, who doesn't exist.
I mean, Sita, I think you would know best. I mean, no one here can tell you what to do this or to do that. The only thing that anyone here can help you is just to encourage to have more understanding and more metta, as Sarah was saying. So
And we never know the outcome. Like you may persuade your family member to take the best medicine and she may get sicker. We don't know, because who knows what karma will bring at any moment and what the effect of cheetahs are at each moment if she's forced to take something she doesn't like. So we don't know what the outcome or how conditions will play out for us or for anyone else from moment to moment. So it's just a matter of developing understand what is wholesome, what is beneficial, and what brings all the trouble, and then just do one's best.
Well, thank you. It has been helpful what everyone has said. So, Anumotana.
Would you like to add any words at the end, Jan, before we finish?
I think that we can talk about more about any word or any reality. For example, Kunsukin's asked about the danger of akusala, but it is not easy to understand the danger of it, because not understanding it as the truth, the absolute truth of no self. For example, there can be condition, a moment of so pleasant, different from pleasant from the five sense or the sensuous object. There can be such different pleasant feeling with jhana or calmness, little by little, to be the jhana stage by stage. So the feeling in this world, the worldly feeling from the five senses object, cannot compare to that. But even so, at that moment, is there any understanding of that as not self? And is this not the danger, the unwholesomeness of ignorance? No matter we bring about so very unexpected pleasantness, but no understanding of it. See, that can be learned little by little. What is the best thing in life? To understand the truth of this moment, little by little, but it has to be the direct understanding, condition to understand that as not self, more and more until the end. So be patient, easy, take it easy, because no self, no one. What would be next? All Dhamma. สวัสดีค่ะทุกคนค่ะ